Hello and welcome to Geometry with Mr. Clausen. So today what we are going to do is we are going to explore how to calculate the median value per square foot of a home. And this is going to specifically relate to the BPP4 project that I have in this series. And this is for the median cost per square foot. And specifically, what I'm going to get it into with tools that appraisers use to just get a basic idea of what a home value is worth in a given area. And so what this is a property report for the house that I live in that was used by the bank to go and determine whether they could give me a mortgage for my house because they're not going to lend me more money than my house is worth. And this is a tool that we're going to talk about a little bit in this geometry class because it allows us to go and estimate the value of a house once you've built it. So, if you're going through and you're estimating that value is based on various factors as far as, the location that it's in. Some locations are more desirable than others. If you live in a place where there is a lot of really expensive houses, views of the lake, just everything is nice around you, lots of parks, those locations are generally more highly sought after and therefore more valuable in comparison to maybe the slums, or if there's a more ghetto area and there's a lot of crime, generally those areas are less desirable. And there could be proximity to other locations and a number of other different factors to consider. And these things have to be taken into consideration when looking at a property report. So what I'm going to do is show you basically what's in my property report and then how to do the assignment, which is a little bit further in this packet. And so generally what they do is, you have a map and you have a list of houses and they pick a whole bunch of properties around your house that are similar, maybe have similar square footages and those type of things, and then they can use that to go and say, all right, so we have a handful of properties, so this is a property, this is a date in which it was sold, that was the price at which it sold for, that is the area or the square footage of the foundation of the house, and with that we can go and we can calculate a cost per square foot value. And this is a relatively simple calculation I'm going to ask you to do. We're just going to pick some of these properties and say, hey, what's the price divided by the building area? And that'll allow us to go and find some of these calculations. So you'll have this packet. You can go through some of this. This is all public record. And granted, this is a few years old because this is back when I bought my house. But you can go and look at this, and most of these numbers you might have to look a little closely, but as far as legibility, but they're all there. And you go through and they have these properties. I believe there's 15 in this analysis that was used. And then there's some inspection records that'll be for the next activity that we're doing. But then in the very back, there is this median cost per square foot sheet. And what I would like you to do is I'd like you to pick 12 of the 15 properties that are there. Now, I don't care which ones you do. If you want to do 1 through 12, that's fine. Or, if you want to do 15 and 13 and whatnot, I just want you to pick 12 of them. And if we are looking at this specific layout here, what I want to do is I want to go back to that property report and show you how to do a number of these calculations and then how to use that to calculate the median cost per square foot of a home. So going back to the other report that I had here, I'm just going to walk through a couple of these calculations. So if we're looking at property 1, we notice that the price is $126,000. That's what the house is valued at, and that the building area is 740 square feet. So 126,740 square feet. So let's go back. So $126,000, 740 square feet, or feet square. And what what I want you to do is simply determine the cost per square foot. And that is just simply the cost divided by the number of square feet in the home. So if you got a handy dandy calculator, like I do on my phone here, we can go 126 and divide that by 740. And you'll see that this gives you a cost per square foot value of $170.27. And let's go and do a few more of these. Let's do number 4. So we'll go 114,000. So I'll just go house number 4, house number 1. Let's see, 114,000. And then we'll go and divide that by 621. Oops, sorry. 114,000. And then we'll divide that by 621 square feet. So divide that by 621 square feet. And again, go 1 and divide by 621. And this will give us $183.57. And so you're going to see a little variation back and forth, and there might be some different reasons for that. But the idea is that if you get a decent swath of values here, you're going to land on a median value. And so with that said, I'm going to do 2 more just to kind of implant the idea here of what we're doing. Go ahead and copy what I'm doing here for the first few calculations. I'm okay with that. You know, you're gonna be able to do enough here that I'm gonna see what's going on. Ooh, this one, $40,000 for house 6, and there's 612 square feet. So, and this is a good reason why you need to do a decent swath of values. So house number 6, I believe it was, had a selling price of $40,000, and it had 612 feet square. And let's just do house 12, 72,348. Probably just rip these out. So 12 is 72,348. For house number 12. And 560 square feet. So go ahead and copy these first 4. I don't mind that you copy those, because what I will have you do, actually I'll just have you do these other 8 and fill these out on your own so that you can go and try this. But if we go again, take our handy dandy calculator, 40,000, and divide that by 612. And we'll go $65.40 because I'm going to round up there. And we'll go 72,348 and divide that by 560. And this will give us 129.19. So if you see this video on second analysis, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work through this entire sheet with students just so they can practice, and then I'm going to have them do the homework as far as assess like their overall knowledge of what's going on here. So now that I've shown you some of these basic calculations for these ones, go ahead and start doing some of the other ones. So I'll work through this, and why don't you pick a bunch as well and work through it? You don't have to do the same numbers I'm doing. And then I think what we're going to do is at the very end, we'll see if we come out with the same median cost. So go ahead, start working through those, and I will do the same as we're doing this video. If you chose to go a different path, awesome, because I think that'll show you some of the power of this if you decided to go on a little bit of a tangent and create some variation. And every year when I do this in class, generally what I find is that the median value is almost always the same, or if it is a little different, it's maybe by $1 or $2. And so this is a pretty useful tool as far as going through and estimating this. And so what I will just do here is pull out my calculator again, and we'll just punch some of these out. So again, as I'm going through this as a relatively simple example, I want you to just take into consideration that there are some extreme highs. So this is your highest, and this is, I believe, your lowest. And neither one of these are a good representation of what you should expect for a house in East Hillside. And so if we go through this, I'm just going to go from lowest to highest, and I'm just going to start numbering these out and see where they plot out in the general span. So 65, I think the next will probably be about that 100, and I think this will be the next highest, 4, 5, and then is that a good representation? Okay, so 6. You know, I'm just watching everything here. So 7 would be that guy there. 8 would be there. 9 would be there. All right. 10, 11, and then 12 being the most expensive. All right. And just like I said before, what you're going to do as far as calculating the median square footage is you're going to go 6 and 7 as your two representative values. All right, so to calculate the median square footage, you'll take the 6th highest value plus the 7th highest value, divide all that by 2, and what you'll get is actually 162.16 plus 170.27. And I just randomly picked 12 values. Oh, yep. And then we'll divide that by 2. And you'll find that the median cost here, I'll just write it right here, is 166.22. All right. And so now that we're looking at this, what we're going to do is throughout the remainder of this course, when you're asked what the value of a house is going to be, we're going to use this given value as far as to determine this calculation and to work through this. So make sure you have this written down somewhere or in your journal somewhere, if you have like a journal or something, that you're writing this down just so you don't forget that. And I will do the same because this is a little bit lower than what I've had previous years, but it's still a good value. I mean, it's I think I usually have $170 and some odd cents because I think it's usually the 7th value and this 8th value that I start taking the distribution through most of the time. But I just got one of the cheaper houses, and that happened because I used the 15th property. A lot of times students don't include that 15th property. So that's the worksheet that I'm going to have you do just with me here, just so you know what's going on. And then your homework that you will have is you'll calculate the median values for all of these, calculate the median cost. Now keep in mind that there's 7 values here, so you'll just pick the 4th most expensive value and just plug it in directly. Do the same here, calculate the median cost per square footage, and then you need to answer the questions on the bottom, okay? And I alluded to this a little bit, but you know, we'll look at who has the lower median cost, what is the difference between the two medians, and which house is the least expensive per square foot plan, and just go through some of those and look at that and do some basic analysis. So with that said, I hope you got a good idea of how to calculate the median cost per square foot of a home. And with that said, let's do some math.